All right, Doom Vivamos Vivamos Epicureans. This is the Marvel Epic Collection Podcast One-Shot Edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I'm joined by...
Stojr from Stojr Shelf. How's it going, Nick?
Doing well, particularly since we are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel Podcast Reading Club. This one-shot is going to be our brief thoughts on today's issue, which is Uncanny X Men number 126, How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth. Alright, so the X-Men arrive on Muir Island to discover that Mutant X, also known as Proteus, and the son of Moira McTaggart, has escaped from his cell. Well, Proteus possesses other host bodies, and he also abhors metal. Well, the X-Men go hunting after Proteus before he can escape the island, and before he can get to the mainland of Scotland and hide along a large populated city. Boy, looking at my notes, I can tell I wrote this as I was falling asleep because that is a bit of a jumble, and hopefully I've done the summary a service here, or at least well enough. Stojr, anything you want to add, any thoughts?
Yeah, for the title of this issue's, I don't even understand it. How
I know.
sharper than a serpent's tooth? There's nothing in here that like I can even connect it to. So that's really weird. I feel like the cover to this book has been used in other media before, or like maybe it's there. I've seen homages to it, or like it feels very familiar for some reason.
Yeah, you know what it is? Do you see that picture behind my head?
Yeah, I guess it is that, but like I swear like this exact image has been used. But yeah, maybe it's that. Maybe that's my subconscious is that it's it's Giant Size X-Men number one that I'm just thinking of because that's what they're trying to evoke here. The I'm gonna give them all of the grace and the credit before about there's no cell phones and the Seinfeld rules that I talked about in previous episodes, but like you couldn't wait 5 minutes for the Quinjet to drop Beast off. Like I don't like that's just he's got to go off and do a different adventure, or John didn't want to draw another an eighth X-Man in the battles or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they just took off and they couldn't wait or swing by in the jet that went over the Atlantic in an hour is a little silly. I find it interesting the callousness that Scott has. He's really like a military leader in this of like like what are we going to do if Sean can't heal from his powers? Like doesn't give a crap about him. He's like, we're going to be down a man who can't actually participate and contribute to the team. I still don't know, and I don't remember if we learned this later. We definitely don't learn it in this volume, but like how old is Proteus supposed to be? Like, Moira, I get like I guess Moira was married for 20 years, but she doesn't look that old. So, I guess the kid, he's if they follow the mutant rules, he has to be at least a teenager because that's when his powers would come into play. But they draw Moira so young that I never think of her as like that old. And I know she was a love interest with Professor X, but I always looked at that as like he being much older and than she being younger. And I don't know, it's just that something with the math ain't mathin' for me with all of that. But
Time has little meaning in the Marvel universe, right? Because
yeah.
you have all these World War II heroes like Nick Fury and even Reed Richards, who continue to be heroes all the way through the 2000s. You just kind of you accept it.
Well, there's the whole sliding scale. That is what is it like? The Marvel universe is only supposed to have started like every like 7 years ago or 17. Like I forget the exact time,
I
but
don't
like
know.
you know, so they changed like Tony Stark from being in Vietnam to being in the Gulf War to then being in Iraq. Like they just kind of push that stuff forward, and then they hit the fast forward button with certain characters like Franklin Richards, or when they age up, like the New Mutants and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like within there. But anyway, I digress. Proteus is a really menacing and cool villain, right? He's basically a zombie that can then change reality and possess people. Like, it. But they very clearly lay out his kryptonite out of the gate with the metal. Um, and I think like you've had this character of Wolverine that's been like the badass that has done all this cool stuff, and you start to see here, and more so in the next issue, how like the reality warping like completely messes him up. Like it messes with his senses, it messes with his like just like it hits him hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an interesting approach with this. So yeah, I really enjoyed this issue. I think Proteus is a really strong villain. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure I quite appreciated the idea of the reality warping is what messes up Wolverine until we get to that later issue. My initial thoughts with him were, I would think Wolverine would just get angrier at this point if is it this issue where Proteus tries to take him over, or is that the next issue? I don't remember.
No, he tries to take him over this issue and
And fails,
can't
right? Because we get our first
because of the
mention.
metal. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, first mention of Wolverine having adamantium lace bones, right? Um, Previously, it's just talking about, oh, he heals quickly, or he heals well. I still don't think we fully established he has a healing factor yet, but we're working towards that, solidifying just what exactly Wolverine's mutant ability is, right? I don't even think at this stage we're fully convinced that the claws are a mutant thing. I think it takes until the onslaught stuff, or maybe it's right before onslaught, when Magneto removes his adamantium from his body, and that's when the first time we get the indication that these are bone claws, right?
Yep. That's Fatal Attractions. It's like Wolverine 75, right around Uncanny 304. So we're a ways
We're
from
a ways
that,
from that, yeah.
200 feet away. Yeah.
To Proteus's power, though, there's something I noticed that Byrne did with presenting that. So I've got, gosh, I don't know what pages these are. I've got it up on the comic viewer. Here, I've got my edition out here real quick. I should be able to find this quickly. I say that, but then of course I can't. Okay, here we go. Page 380 to 381. And it's really page 381 that I want to draw attention to. Byrne does a lot of really square panels, right? They're even, they're regular throughout, until we start seeing the crazy warping of reality with Nightcrawler and Wolverine. And the characters go weird, but then the panels go weird too, right? So even the reality of the book that we're looking at gets skewed. It gets strange into all these, I want to say quadrilaterals, but they're not all quadrilaterals. I don't know enough geometry, math terms to express what these various shapes are, right? But I thought that was just a brilliant little touch that I could have easily just looked over, but happened to notice at that time. So again, good stuff. Maybe that should get a no prize award, but I neglected to write one up.
Yeah, I love when artists do that. In the Batman New 52 era, there's they relaunched Batman. There's a Court of Owls storyline where he gets captured by the Court of Owls and he's drugged, and they're purposely trying to drive him crazy. And there's these panels where the tech everything goes upside down,
Mm.
but like you don't kind of like realize it when you're reading it, because of like the way everything's thrown up. But you're basically supposed to turn the book upside down to read it. Well, I was reading it on digital. I couldn't turn it upside down because the
Uh-huh.
iPad would keep resetting it. I had to go into the settings and turn off the orientation mode so I could flip it over and actually like read the words there.
And
But
then you
yeah, I love
swipe
when
it
they
the
mess
wrong
with things
way
like that.
afterwards, right? Okay. Anyway, just thought that was a nice touch. Stoger, any final thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, to me, like I feel like we're in the mix of things. Like I like the way that they draw Proteus, in the sense that like he's just kind of consuming these people. They're kind of turning into almost like zombies until they kind of get fully burned out through the issue. So it's good stuff.
All right. Well, again, if you guys enjoyed our thoughts, follow us on YouTube, where we are going to read, rate, and review a full Epic Collection trade paperback every other week. Thank you very much for watching. I just read my notes without actually correcting myself because we're just doing the review things once a month. My outro still hasn't been fixed. It says follow our bi-weekly show. We're talking about some other things that might make it bi-weekly again, but just follow us on YouTube. Follow us in our socials. That's in the link tree in the description. You'll be caught up with whatever we're doing. All right. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow.